Our invocation this morning will be led by Phil Russell.
I had to unmute myself. I have a little Irish kitchen prayer because some of us have eaten, will be eating, or are eating during this meeting. It's an Irish kitchen prayer. Bless us with good food, the gift of gab, and hearty laughter. May the love and joy we share be with us ever after. Amen.
Amen. Ask everybody to mute their mics for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Happy New Year. Hope you enjoyed the new year with your loved ones. Are there any announcements from the floor?
I have a quick announcement.
Go ahead, Phil.
All right, thank you. Seeing as Dave is going to be our token representative at the Buffalo Bills game this Saturday, he's going through the testing right now. He's waiting anxiously, I'm sure, for the results, and so he could get his tickets. My question for Dave, or my recommendation for Dave, is take a Toastmasters magazine and have your buddy take a picture of you, and we will submit it to the international magazine. Is that a good idea?
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you. Dave, did you hear that? No. Dave, as usual, is obsessed with something.
Yeah, you gotta get the
Mr. President.
scoreboard and the field in the photo.
Exactly. Great suggestion. We better everybody. Well, he doesn't read his chat, so how are we going to get the information to him? We'll have to bug him. Yeah.
We'll email him.
Yeah.
Listen.
Yes, Dave?
Just because my video was off doesn't mean my audio was off. And as I was checking my email this morning, my notification is here already after my 2 minutes driving through that tent. But the testing was very far less intrusive than the first test I had back in May. So it's just like a little hello to my nose. That's it. The Q-tips didn't come out of the back of my neck like they did in May.
All righty. Well, was cheering for the Bills as they head into the playoffs this weekend. All right. Are there any other announcements, Larry?
I would like to extend a thank you and how professional that our team was last week for our AM Lockport contest, for our speech contest. I want to thank Kate and all of the committee that ran the speech contest. Our one of the directors was on from the area and was saying how well run the contest was, and I just wanted to commend them for a good job.
I would like to commend both Larry and Len, because I had a little epiphany this morning. These Zoom meetings wouldn't have any quality at all without Larry and Len, so I'd like to salute them.
Yep, I agree.
And I think when visitors drop in here, I think that's what boggles their mind, is the background images and the way we can comport ourselves. So thank you, Larry. Thank you, Len.
Thank you, guys. All right. If there's any other further announcements, we'll save for the end. I'll turn the meeting proceedings over to our Toastmaster today, Dr. Gerald Stevens.
Good morning, everybody. We'll start our meeting off today with a toast. The theme is to the future. And everybody grab a glass of something with some sort of beverage, hopefully in it. Here's to 2020 being gone and hopes to a bigger and brighter 2021. So I have a little ditty I kind of put together here for you guys. So let's, I'm gonna go back and forth when I'm on as Toastmaster with a screen share. So there's a little something here. Let's see if this works. Can you guys see that? You see some nodding, okay.
Yep, good.
Got it.
Okay, so let's begin the show. Okay, so into the future. A lot of times in the summertime, if I have a few moments, I'll sit in a nice sunny day and look at the clouds and dream about the future. So that would be a nice place to be right now when it's a little chilly out. So we can think about that as part of our future. And as Eric alluded to earlier, we had to have a little back to the future stuff here. So those of you who have been to the Jamestown Comedy Center, National Comedy Center, you know that memes are a form of comedy, and you get to make your own meme at the Jamestown National Comedy Center. So if you get a chance to go, if you haven't been, definitely recommend it. I know a number of the Toastmasters have. So it is recommended, according to these guys, whatever happens, never go to 2020. So I have about 8 of these things. So just to start off with a little humor. The whole world is blaming the Chinese for eating anything and spreading corona. Bear Grylls could be involved with the coronavirus. If anybody's ever watched that show, he eats everything. So I wonder, you know, Bear Grylls is in China. Could have been the cause. Who knows? I'm a big fan of The Simpsons. I know Len is as well. I'm only on season 5.5 at this point. And they have a lot of these shows, famous people on there. Lisa Simpson says 2020 is God's punishment to humanity for making a Cats movie. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about. And that's all I'm going to say. So in 2020, toilet paper was a precious thing. And people were not really necessarily experts when COVID came out. But this here is The Cure, the band, The Cure, for those of you who don't know. This is from the movie Joker. People actually were a little bit happy, some companies happy, in regards to profits, especially mass companies. They were making some money and memes were all over the place, hence the reason I have memes here. And every day during 2020 seemed like it was another quarantine day. This day all over again, just like Groundhog Day. You had to make things a little bit funny in 2020. So I know I definitely passed around some dad jokes. This is one of those. It says here, no one in Antarctica has COVID-19. It's because they're isolated. But truth is, there actually is COVID-19 in Antarctica. I've actually saw an article on it. So sadly, that is not accurate. Okay, so we'll pause my share here and we'll go into the role players today. And you can please tell your jobs for everybody. And I don't believe we have any guests today. I didn't see any on there. The first role player today is Jackie. You have a word of the day for us?
I do, Gerald. The word of the day is going to be visionary. It's an adjective meaning thinking about or planning the future, or a person with original ideas about the future. So I hope I'm going to hear that word used quite a bit today. It's in the chat, and I'll put it on my face, over my face as well. So please use the word visionary.
Thank you, Jackie. I definitely hope to hear some visionary type thinking in some of our speeches and table topics today. Our master is Beth Banks. Tell us your job, Beth. Unmute there, Beth.
It just wouldn't click the right way. My job this morning will be to count the ahs and ums and pregnant pauses and things like that that we all seem to say at least once while we are speaking. I am no visionary, but I'm sure that we'll be saying some ums. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Not a bad prediction. It happens. Our grammarian is Eric Schneider. Your role, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. My job today as grammarian is to pinpoint the uses of our English language, and I will be paying attention to a lot of that, and I will report back when called upon. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Charlie Deacon's our quote master today. I saw Charlie pop on. Do you have a quote for us, Charlie?
I have several of them.
Awesome.
First one is, the only mistake you can make in life is to not set your sights high enough. And that's said by Robert Wegman. And there's a couple here that I picked these off of when I'm on Facebook, and I don't really write down who said it. Don't wait until you've reached your goal to be proud of yourself. Be proud of every step you take toward reaching that goal. And the last one is, new year, new feels, new breaths, new chances, some dreams, fresh starts. I dare you to believe in yourself. You deserve all the things magic. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Charlie, for those words of inspiration. Get us going in the morning. Hopefully Nancy has a jest to get us laughing this morning. Nancy.
Oh, what a great topic, Gerald. And I'm so glad to interject some humor today, especially with all the unpredictable events happening in this world. Fellow Toastmasters, there has always been a fascination for seeing into the future. There are people who do it really well and can predict the future. They're called visionaries, fortune tellers, psychics. There are others who don't do it so well. They're called nonprofits. Even frogs, yes, even frogs want to know about their future. Did you hear about the frog who went to the fortune teller asking about his future? The teller said, you will encounter a beautiful girl in your life and you will lose your heart to her. The frog, being very excited, asked, where will I meet her? The teller replied, in a biology class.
Oh.
Ooh. Even in grammar, we have past, present, and future tense. A teacher asked her students to convert the sentence, I killed a person, into future tense. Johnny stood up from the back of the room and said, the future tense is I will go to jail. Another way of having fun, perhaps, is planning trips, especially during COVID. We bought a world map, and I was selected to throw the first dart to determine where we would go for 2 weeks. Well, it seems that after the pandemic, we will be spending 2 weeks behind the refrigerator. And I spoke to a friend who got laid off during the pandemic. He said to me, I'm not having much luck with jobs lately. I couldn't concentrate in the orange juice factory. I wasn't suited to be a tailor. The muffler factory was just too exhausting. I couldn't cut it as a barber. I didn't have the patience to be a doctor. I didn't fit in the shoe factory. Pool maintenance was too draining, and I just couldn't see a future as a historian. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Oh, we just lost Gerald.
In lieu of Dr. Gerald returning shortly, we'll continue with the role players. Mark Campos will be our timer today. Mark, could you please tell us about your role?
I would be happy to. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Happy New Year to all of you. My job as timer today is to ensure that we remain compliant with our prescribed timing parameters. As such, I am at the ready. Being the visionary that I am, I have my Toastmasters timing app ready to go, as well as the virtual backgrounds, red, yellow, and green. So please be aware of those. I will put them up as you hit your timing targets, which are 1.5 to 2 minutes for table topics with a 15-second buffer, 2 to 3 minutes for evaluations with a 30-second buffer, and speeches will vary, but typically they are 5 to 7 minutes with a 30-second buffer. Is our Toastmaster back?
Yes.
Mr. Toastmaster.
I am back on a different device, but I will work out my technical difficulties here as we move along. Thank you for continuing on. That's awesome. Our next job holder is our tech and gesture master, Larry Eggert. What is your role?
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. My role today is, I guess I'm now not only the gesture master, but the tech master, which for a 63-year-old, I'm going to have to really be a visionary because I'm not really good with tech. So, but I did notice one thing already, that we did roll with a little tech issue. I know Dr. Stevens dropped his, not his fault, but he dropped a signal, and Larry McKenzie jumped right in, and the doc was right back on with his secondary device. So that's my first observation. I will continue to watch for things like this throughout the meeting and report back. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Larry. Our quiz master is Margot Bittner. What is your role, Margot?
Good morning, everyone. It was a visionary who brought this role to us. And what I will be doing is listening today, and at the end of the meeting, come up with 3 to 5 questions. I'm not going to overburden you, so you better listen carefully because there won't be many. And hopefully somebody will be able to answer each one of my questions at that point. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Margot. And our last role, second to last role player today, in regards to who I'm introducing at this moment, is the all-important general evaluator. Marty, your role today, please.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good morning, everyone. As general evaluator this morning, I will be evaluating the Toastmaster of the meeting and the evaluators. As I put on my visionary hat, I definitely will be thinking ahead to the future and towards the end of the meeting, and I'll be reporting back then. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Marty. Dave Licata, are you ready for our table topics today?
Sempre pronto. Yes, I'm always ready.
Take it away.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank Len for letting me know that he is eligible. And the theme today is the future. And the word is visionary, which means that you might be someone who's clever enough to plan for the future. But I wish to remind everybody that if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. But back to the theme, the more upbeat theme. As someone who is now living in 2021, I am incredibly disappointed. I don't have a jetpack. I can't fly through the sky through myself with those twin rockets on my back. Lenny, how do you feel about not having a jetpack?
Mr. Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, I'm disappointed. 2021 has not started out the way I anticipated. And it's not like it was a really tough act to follow. I'd like to share with you, as our Toastmaster of the Day intimated, I'm also a Simpsons fan. And that's long been held as one of the most visionary programs in what they've been able to predict over the years. Let me share my screen here. There we go. I came across this meme and it just kind of said it all here. It's Grandpa Simpson talking to Bart and some of his friends saying, I was there in the psychological war of 2020 on the front lines, furiously posting memes like a son of a bitch. I thought to myself, yeah, that's me. I do show some restraint. I do try and stay off Facebook as much as possible. But yes, I'm really disappointed in who we are as a country, what we've become, what our standards are. It seems like we've taken a step back, a huge step back. I try and be optimistic, try and be pragmatic, but things aren't looking so good. I guess I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewatch some of those Simpsons episodes and see if there's any hope for our future here in the real world, the non-yellow world. Mr. Topic Master.
Dave, you're muted.
I didn't do that. Anyways, before there was the Simpsons, there was the Flintstones, and the flip side of the Flintstones was the Jetsons. I'd like to call on Carol. Carol, where are our flying cars? What happened? And then George Jetson take the car, he folded up in his briefcase and take it to his desk. He didn't even have to park it. Carol, what are you disappointed about? What magic thing like a flying car would you rather have than not have? Carol.
Let's see. I just have to find the timer on my tablet. Okay. Yes, I thought during probably my teenage years when we watched the Jetsons, I thought that all this that they were showing us was going to show up in our life. We would have an automatic maid, and we would be able to go anywhere at very fast speeds. And it ended up that maybe the show, The Flintstones, was about how fast things ended up because of commuting, especially in big cities where the traffic is pretty slow. So the visionary or the vision of the future that we had back then really didn't seem to come to pass as we thought. And no visionary would have anticipated what 2020 would be like, or they wouldn't have anticipated watching the news yesterday and seeing scenes that you never would think would happen in the United States. But we don't know what the future holds, but I think we'll be ready for it. Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you so much. I have often said that if travel was free, you'd never see me again. This is Lockport Dave calling on North Carolina Dave. Where's your transporter? Why can't we just transport ourselves to anywhere we want to go? Dave, are you disappointed that we just can't stand there and say, beam me up to Paris, London, or Rome?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Your question shows that you're a visionary in the table topics arena.
Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. And Dave, I also want to say your red shirt makes you look very dapper. I like the white trim. You look really, really good today.
I'm the Prince of Wales.
Okay, perfect. Yes, I have mentioned on a previous table topics on this organization that driving for me is the most frustrating things. And if we could teleport ourselves to another location, that would be great, because when I get in the car, I don't go for a day drive or Sunday driver. I want to get to where I'm going. So if I could teleport myself to the next location immediately, that would definitely save myself a lot of headaches and troubles. And I am disappointed we don't have it. I think it's unrealistic that we'll ever be able to teleport ourselves or have flying cars, at least in our lifetime. But I do enjoy traveling. I recently flew, which was a very unusual experience, to have the mask and everybody staring at each other. And every time you heard a cough off in the distance, everybody freaked out. And I think if we did teleporting, it would be great. But then again, I think about Willy Wonka when they did the teleporting, and that didn't work out too well because they all came about this big. And I think the main thing I miss about the things I thought we'd have in the future is peace on earth, because every single model in a beauty pageant ever has asked for peace on earth. That seems to be their go-to answer. And I thought by now it would have been, the universe would have given it to us based on all of our models, but it never happened. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing your visions with us. My father-in-law worked at Bell Aerosystems. They did develop a jetpack. They used to fly it at halftime from one Bills end zone to another at what we finally called the original Civic Stadium. We called it the Rock Pile, was its nickname. We see things on the internet where they have wonderful animations of flying cars. But that transporter scares me too, because it might scramble your innards as it sends you through space. All right, now I need a words report from Jackie Kenny, our word master.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Len used the word, Carol used it twice, David used the word, and David Licata also used the word. So we're doing well this morning. Thank you.
So they're all qualified word-wise. Thank you, Jackie. And now we want to check in with high-tech Mark Campos, who has the headset with the microphone, making me a little envious. How did we do on time, Mark?
David, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters. Hopefully our tech master took note of those accolades that you just hurled in my direction. And from a timing perspective, I am happy to report that all three contestants were fully compliant. Len at 1:36, Carol right at the edge, 2:15.
Whoa.
David Jones at 1:48. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Mark, thank you so much. So cast your ballots for Len, Carol, or our friend Dave.
Okay. Thank you, Dave, for running table topics here, and thank you to the speakers for stepping up. Let's go back to my share screen here. See if it works. Oh boy. I think Zoom updated in the middle of everything, believe it or not. So that's interesting. There we go. Okay, can you see it? See my PowerPoint here. Okay, well, if you're like me, you're always looking forward to the future. And I like to say, let it go. A lot of people simmer on the past, and it kind of brings them down. They're always referring to bad things that happened to them in the past. Remember, but let it go. The past is in the past. If I could sing better, I would sing that for you. I say, here's to our new future. There'll probably be some pretty cool tech stuff. Zoom was one of the things that happened this past year that was a little more techy. I don't think that's going away. It's very convenient to work from home, saves money for individuals, saves travel. That's a big thing. Maybe hybrid meetings, because there is the in-person thing that we definitely like.
Well.
Did we lose him again?
I do believe. Yes. So what we will do is, let's see, we lost Dr. Gerald. So at this point in time, it looks like we should move on to our speaker portion of the program. And our first speaker of the day is Thomas Heldwine, and Thomas's evaluator is Sylvia Baptiste. Sylvia, would you tell us a little bit about Thomas's speech?
I would love to. This morning, Thomas is talking regarding engaging humor level 2. It's a 5 to 7 speech. And I do have his title, Not Your Typical Kind of Mentor. Thomas.
Thank you, Sylvia. Good morning, everyone, and our guests. So, everyone loves when I bring this up. Mentoring, it's a big thing, especially when you wear this. And I'd like to actually start with the question most people ask is like, what's the funniest thing that has ever happened to you while doing that? And it had to happen with a troubled private who was the recipient of many hours of my personal attention. I asked him whether or not, when I heard that I died, or if I died, would he take a whiz on my grave? And he looked at me, cold-faced, said, no, drill sergeant. After I get out of the military, I will never stand in a really long line ever again. So let me explain the history. I joined the military in '88. I was on active duty through '91 in the Gulf War, Desert Storm. In 1992, I went to drill sergeant school, which in the reserves was a year-long school. So I was a drill sergeant from 1993 to 2004. Almost 11 years, 11 separate times going down and being a drill sergeant for 30 days. I did end up going off to be an officer, but my most important lessons on mentoring were during my time as a drill sergeant. So breaking this down into 3 separate areas. The first area, negative reinforcement. Drop, give me 20. When you do that, they know they've done something wrong. And the pain of a simple correction like that, though not horribly physically painful, is enough for them to know to avoid that negative stimulus. That's a very good motivator for soldiers. On the other hand, you have to remember as the mentee that you need to be what they want to be. Every action that you take, everything you do will be watched. You have to be the example and set the example. Now, if you don't, there should be some self-imposed punishments. So how did we self-impose punishment? Well, most of us drill sergeants went out every night and had a few beers and then had to get up at 5:30 in the morning after leaving the bar at 1. So we self-imposed a punishment on ourselves every night in order to be able to go in with the proper attitude to mentor these fine young soldiers. mentoring other drill sergeants. The saying is, power corrupts and ultimate power corrupts absolutely. Well, when you put this on, there's usually no one else around above you to watch out for you. You will, and I have, overstepped my bounds. Luckily, I never permanently hurt anybody or broke any rule that would have caused me to have a negative consequence or punishment. That was the second thing. The third thing, things I learned that I can share with you. Number one is self-assessment. Always be thinking about yourself and how you're presenting yourself. And how am I not living up to the mentee role? What do I need to do to improve? What do you have to do sometimes? You have to vent. Have someone to vent with, de-stress, think about what you did, and then go back one step to self-assessment. Time. Figure out something for yourself. As drill sergeants, we had two very simple, easy to remember statements that after being in the military for a while, you knew them by heart. First one, hey, you got a phone call. You see somebody doing the wrong thing, separate them from the group, get them going in the right direction. Second one is, private, go look that up. I was a drill sergeant for 1 year. They had come out with a new bazooka. Private comes in and is like, drill sergeant, how do I remove the safety on this again? I'm not really sure. I just grabbed from, so soldier, that is in your smart book. You need to go back and go look it up and come back and you tell me how to remove the safety on this. Go talk to one of your peers, go read it, get out of here. I close the drill sergeant door with a slam. I turn around to the active duty drill sergeants. I say, what the hell is this thing? Because I had no idea, but I bought myself the time to learn. And then for the next 10 minutes, they showed me everything, and I had to learn it. My quote to take away, as far as being a mentor or mentee, is an unknown. Maybe it does have an author, but I couldn't find it. You learn more from failure than success. Don't let it stop you. Failure builds character.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, my assistant Toastmasters today to help with the tech issues. You guys are great. I've decided to abandon the computer and I'm going total cell phone from now on the rest of this meeting. I can definitely adapt. Our second speaker today is Tracy Farrell, but the evaluator is Ryan Flore. Ryan, what is she going to talk about today?
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. This morning, Tracy will be taking her second speech from the High Performance Leadership Project. It's out of the Innovative Planning Pathway, and the purpose of the project is to apply leadership and planning knowledge. And she went through and developed a plan, organized a guidance committee, and will be implementing the plan. And this is the second speech and the follow-up on that. Mr. Toastmaster, do you have her title?
I do not, and I hope you do.
I do. The title of the speech today is Lessons Learned. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech by Tracy Farrell. Tracy Farrell, Lessons Learned.
Thank you, Ryan and Mr. Toastmaster. And as you can all imagine, 2020 has been quite a year. That's all we've talked about in this meeting. And it's been no different for me. It started off with being quarantined for 2 weeks and then trying to go back to work and get caught up at work. And then worrying about the loss of income and the health of our family members. We've all been affected by this terrible disease. However, fortunately for most of us, we've been able to adapt and move on. But the reality is nothing's really changed. Projects that we're all working on, they're a lot more difficult doing them by Zoom. And we've lost that in-person contact. As most of you guys remember, my high performance leadership project was to work with Rotary and really announce to the city of Lockport all the accomplishments that Rotary has done in the eradication of polio over the last 50 years. That was really going to end up in October as being Polio Awareness Month, which it is every year, but we were really going to announce it to the city. And why not? Since 1988, Rotary and their partners have helped 16 million people who wouldn't have been able to walk are now walking. Since then, there's been 2.5 billion vaccines distributed to children. And in 1988, there were 350,000 active cases of polio throughout the world. However, in 2020, there were only 10. And that's thanks to a lot of Rotarians, their time, their money, and their innovation in distributing this vaccine. Our committee was really going to announce it throughout the city and on the rooftops of everything during the month of October. But what we really didn't count on is how much COVID would affect our plans. I actually started planning in July, right after Rotary did our organizational meeting on the president-elect, and as such, I'm responsible for all of the speakers and our events. This event was going to be the big event. To begin with, let's remember, meetings are all held by Zoom, and even in Toastmasters, at the very beginning, they were very, very clunky. And thanks, as Dave Licata aproposly said, thanks to Larry McKenzie and Len, that we were able to overcome this. I can honestly tell you, in other organizations and at my work, we have not been able to overcome the problems of Zoom. There's a lot of problems. And our committee was no different. Kind of started off with the older members. They didn't even know how to log on to Zoom. Younger members have their kids in the background screaming for attention. And then nobody in the committee really knows how to upload their documents and share it with each other. So there was a lot of adjustments. Nonetheless, this committee marched on, and part of our project included having a speaker at our Rotary meeting from the district, really telling us and announcing to the club what's happening, what strides we made, what still needed to be done by Rotary to 100% eradicate this disease. We are going to have the Palace Theater light up their marquee for the month of October. We're going to have a proclamation from the mayor at a flag raising ceremony. And of course, a flag raising ceremony attended by both Rotarians and the media, just to get the word out. Well, most of that happened. But when we went to the city of Lockport to ask about a flag raising ceremony, they said, yeah, you can do that. But did you know that all flags are at half mast? Like, what? I work at City Hall and I didn't know this? This called for an emergency meeting. So obviously our committee got together and we had to sit and really think about what we were doing. We were really insensitive to what was going on around us. And naturally we decided this wasn't the year to make a great big scene about it. How could we pronounce the eradication of one disease when another disease is actually ravishing the entire world? In the end, we did get a proclamation from the mayor. It was on TV. Both the mayor and the president of our club were masked. It was done in front of an empty studio. with masks and not much applause, which is fine, but it does make for an odd picture. It doesn't really help your cause. We did have a speech given to us at Rotary, and the Palace Theater did light up their marquee for the month, or for the last week of October. Wasn't a total success, but we did manage to raise a couple $1,000s towards polio. And what we really will do is ramp it up next year. Some of our additional ideas include having our members wearing red t-shirts, and to have a fitness walk followed by that flag raising ceremony. There's a wonderful quote that says, "You can't change the events around you, but you can change your mind. And from that is where you'll gain your strength." That's one of the lessons I learned. Although I can't change the events around me, I can change my actions. And that's what I'll do in future projects and in this project next year. Those were my lessons learned. Thank you.
Awesome, Tracy. Appreciate that. Our third speaker today is Samir, and his evaluator is Jen Czapla. Jen, what is he going to talk about today?
Hello, Samir will be speaking from the Leadership Development Pathway. He is on level 4 and he's working on the elective Create a Podcast. He's going to be doing this as a 5 to 7 minute speech today for our timer. And Mr. Toastmaster, do you have his title?
I do have his title. He posted that on the agenda. Appreciate that, Samir. His title is Omni-Channel Content Distribution, a Meta Podcast. Looking forward to this. Samir.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Today, many forums exist to distribute ideas and information, podcasting becoming a preeminent one, replacing blogs. This project is basically to produce a podcast and provide a 5-minute sample of the content for it to you, my fellow Toastmasters, as a demonstration of my podcasting ability. The podcasting project itself is pretty basic. They give an overview of several types as well as some guidelines for researching your topic and interacting with your audience. For my specific project, what's going to be discussed is the format for an art project that is a combination between the 3 types: a talk show podcast, an informational podcast, and entertainment. The themes will develop as they come up naturally due to the progression of culture, society, politics, whatever is current lately. For the informational podcasts and future topics will include a comparison of All Things Considered to This American Life, which would win most quaint. True crime hosts, glamorizing venal brutality for profit, or simply dark souls finding solace in the most dangerous puzzles. Little legends that just can't quite, so-called inspirational podcasts to avoid. And in the entertainment podcast section, we'll review some traditional narratives, extensions of existing fictional universes, and various other genres that are more specific in their areas of focus. Welcome to Omni-Channel Content Distribution, a meta podcast, blog/YouTube channel for all of your ambient distraction needs. Today, we're going to provide some background on where our podcast fits into the realm of today's plethora of podcasts and other content in true meta podcast format. Culture and economics intertwine to create a culture of production. Our time is valuable though, so finding what is actually timeless in this sea we find ourselves in of various forms of videos, audio clips, and text snippets are tough to navigate. These numerous forms can be daunting to the average user. Often quantity is necessary to produce quality production, and automation can help in distributing this to the masses across different formats. The algorithm is powerful, but especially nowadays, I think most of us crave a bit of human curation in our own ideas and efforts to expose ourselves to new forms of thought. Everyone's a news anchor now, whether that's good or bad, and it's the future that we live in and something we have to deal with. Some effects of this have resulted in maybe a little bit less than high quality content. So hopefully we can just leave that to blooper sections that you'll have to review on your own. Next time we'll cover meta podcasting in more detail, as well as podcasts. Do you actually have time for them? Probably not, but we'll list some apps in a semi-random order that you can put into a folder on your phone that you'll barely remember to open during the 2 to 3 free minutes you have each day. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Or Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Samir. Mr. Timer, can I get a timer's report on our speakers today?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, as the song goes, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Thomas at 6:19, Tracy at 6:48, Samir 3:43. Little short of the goal line there, buddy. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. And you'll see a poll come up here in a minute. And please take an opportunity to vote. Okay, now that I've voted. So the future. I like to talk about what's coming in my future. I did talk a little bit a second ago, which you may or may not have heard due to tech issues. I did end up getting the first stage of the corona vaccine in the Eastern Niagara Hospital just yesterday, and I felt like I got punched in the arm. No other side effects other than that. So I'm definitely rolling that way. So once I get good with the vaccine, I am going to do what? What do you think the number one thing I'm going to do is? If you had to guess.
Visit breweries.
Have a beer.
I will definitely do that. That's a good definitely be doing that. But also I will be traveling to some of the breweries and do a little travel. So I have some conventions. We've been planning a convention for a long time, ever since I've been part of this chiropractic group in Hawaii. So that's in November. So there's time. And I am going there for sure. So I already have a detailed plan of what I'll be doing. I plan to see the Hawaiian Volcanoes National Park. As you guys know, I'm a big national parks guy. Hope to see some flowing lava, hopefully not too close. That'd be pretty cool to see that. Hope to see some waterfalls, do some hiking. They have more than one national park. Hokulea, I'm sure I totally mispronounced that. There's another one. I'll be going to that. And they have some pretty cool, colorful birds there. I don't know if I've been to Hawaii or not, but I have not. I'll be doing some beach time there, probably Waikiki, famous beach. And my wife is going to be doing some diving / snorkeling. And apparently they have some manta ray kind of stuff. So she's always wanted to see one of those. So she'll be doing that. So that'll be fun. Well, what else am I going to do? I have a number of options, what I'm debating to do, not totally solidified. One of them is Theodore Roosevelt National Park. That's in North Dakota. May not be at the top of your list places to go, but that's the last state. So there's something there to see, believe it or not. Or I'll go to Colorado, where my uncle is. He's 86, so I would like to see him. So he's getting up there in age, and I hope to see the rest of my relatives there. But they also have some other national parks, Dinosaur National Park, Monument nearby, in Mesa Verde, where they have some cliff dwellings. Maybe if I'm really lucky, I'll do a tiny trip to New Orleans and get some Cafe du Monde. Doesn't that sound good this morning? Sounds really good to me. Some really good coffee. So that's my crystal ball for 2021. At this point in the meeting, I'd like to introduce the evaluators again. Evaluator number 1 is Sylvia. Are you ready?
I am ready. Thank you. Tom, thank you for your presentation today. I always amazed when I listen to you speak how confident you are and how you never use notes. I don't know if you do, but we don't notice them if you are. Sometimes I notice your eyes going a little bit toward the right or left of the screen. It depends which way you're looking at. Yeah, but that is so mute. That is really a minor thing. The presentation with your voice, you brought in the audience, the vocal, and also what brought us in is moving in and out of the camera to get us engaged. And I like that too. Like I said, the eye contact's great. The hat, I thought you were going to use more than one hat, but you used your drill sergeant hat, and that was cool. And that's why you needed the voice loud at times, because drill sergeants, they are right on, target. They want you to listen to them, yell at them. And you listed the 3 things: negative enforcement, lead by example. And I lost a third, because when you said it, you started going into 1, 2, 3, and I couldn't figure out where you were going with that. That is my challenge to you for the next time you do this speech, is make it a little more clear, because I didn't have enough of caffeine in me to notice, but I got lost at number 3, and I really liked your speech, and I would like to know more. And I did like your ending, what you took away. Great lesson there. Don't be afraid of failure. This is how you learn, and more things you learn with failure than success. I do like that. Let's see. Little gestures, and that was fine because the voice brought us in. And I think that is all I have today. So, I would like to hear it again, because I want to get that number 3 a little more clear in my head, what you were trying to say. So, well, looking forward to that. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Sylvia. Our second evaluator for Tracy Farrell is Ryan. Are you ready to do your evaluation?
Good morning, and thank you again, Mr. Toastmaster. I am ready. In listening to Tracy's speech today, I wanted to give kudos on the overall recap that she did. Often when we're going through a multi-step or multi-speech project, we make the assumption or start to believe that our audience might remember everything from the first because they are invested as we were. It's not always the case, unfortunately, and everybody having different methods and different things going on in their lives. It was just great to get that recap of what was going on, the overall project, the groups you were using, brought us back in a relatively short amount of time, and then got into what's been going on lately in this project. So I wanted to give you kudos on that. I think a little bit more could have been done as far as what the specific problems were. Maybe bring in some more details. As we talked about, the meeting is held by Zoom. There were some issues with age and overcoming those, and you haven't yet overcome those. Why do you think that might be? Is there something different that's being done or not being done? Bring a little bit more perspective for us listening to this speech to find out what lessons we could learn as well, and what lessons you've learned as far as the whys behind that. But I really did like how throughout the entire speech, you were also bringing in those lessons learned, those pieces without referencing the title. And then you had that really solid close utilizing your title to finish it out. I think, again, great things throughout. Awareness of circumstances, kind of the unfortunate theme of 2020, right? Everything seems to be muted if it wasn't related to politics or coronavirus. And you still were able to get things accomplished, like lighting up the Palace Theater, the proclamation from the mayor, getting it on the news. And I really like how you said, although I can't change events around me, I can change my actions. So in closing, a great job. You stayed within, and I really look forward to learning more about this project as it continues on. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for you guys to create a visionary pathway to follow for when we can come back and do this in a couple years for COVID-19. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you, Ryan. Our third evaluator for Samir is Jen Czapla. Are you ready, Jen?
I am. Yes, I'm
Wow.
evaluating Samir today. Samir, you always do such an excellent job with creating a script. I'm a podcast listener myself, and I appreciated the idea of a meta podcast in general. I think it's a very humorous idea. And anybody who does listen to podcasts, especially some of the ones you mentioned, I'm sure would be engaged and interested in this type of a podcast. I somewhat appreciated your ambiance in terms of your background today. I thought it actually looked like you were sort of in a like dingy radio area, but at the same time, there were aspects of it that were somewhat distracting, like the candle that was flickering in the background. I kept looking at that instead of looking at you, and the swivel chair got a little bit distracting at times as well. So although it kind of gave you the feel of being in this radio or this podcast, because you're not usually visual in a podcast, it's somewhat, I would just caution you to be aware of that. I also appreciate the inflection that you use while you're speaking. However, I think sometimes your speed, you tend to rush, and then occasionally I get lost in the words. Your humor tends to be very dry and subtle, which I think is very funny, but it takes me a little bit longer to always hit on those points. So I would ask you to pause more often and slow down at times when you're speaking. I think that you've done a really excellent job. I know in the past, in some of the speeches you've given, we could see you reading your words. And I did not notice that today. I'm not sure whether or not you were using notes or reading from something, but I will say one thing that I've noticed, and I know I've had this in the past when I was speaking, I think you do have a tendency to script your speeches, whether or not you're rehearsing them or using notes, which can be a really good thing. But what I'll caution you about is when you do that, you lose a lot of the emotion behind it. And I think that if you were to take time and not focus so much on all those minute words and work more on the feeling behind it, you'll find that your speech changes totally, and how you're relating to the audience you become more connected to your audience in that way. So I would actually challenge you to try not scripting so much of your speech and try to give it with more passion and emotion, because I think that would feel very different for you. And it would be interesting to see how that brings more growth to you as a speaker. Overall, I appreciated the topic. I know your time was a little short and mine might be a little long, so maybe the two of us will be making up for it time-wise today. But make sure that you continue to bring your humor and your fancy words. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Mr. Timer, can I have a timer's report?
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, all three evaluators qualified. Sylvia at 226, Ryan at 227, Jen just a little bit of assistance from the buffer at 308. Mr. Toastmaster.
There will be a poll to vote. There it is, right on time. Take a second to vote for your favorite evaluator. Last part of my Toastmaster presentation is going to be some inspirational quotes. We did some jokes today, talked about my future. I did have a bit where I would have talked about some other stuff in regards to the coronavirus, but hey, we're familiar with that. It's all good. So the first quote I have here is, "Hope is smiling at the future." That is for sure. You need hope at this time, and anytime, in my opinion, to go forward in life. And one of my favorite movies is Shawshank Redemption, and I have a t-shirt that has the scene where he is standing in the rain. He gets out from under the out of prison through the big pipe, and he is free. Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Gotta have hope, folks. Quote from Walt Disney: "First think, second dream, third believe, and finally dare. That is what we have to do for 2021. Additional quote from Walt Disney: if you can dream it, you can do it. So let's start dreaming. We haven't already. We certainly have some time, since a lot of the extraneous things we do to keep us from chasing our dreams may not be going on right now. And to accomplish great things, we must not only act, but also dream. Not only plan, but also believe. And that's from Anatole France. The future is in your hand. Now go out and create it. At this point, I'd like to introduce my general evaluator. If he wants to go through the roles, that's fine. If not, I would be happy to do so. Marty Johnson, would you like to evaluate me and the general tone of the meeting and the evaluators?
Yes, thank you, Gerald. Fellow Toastmasters. Gerald, you were well prepared. You got the agenda started early. The roles were filled early. I did notice yesterday that Jill had a sudden reason why she couldn't make it. However, as Toastmasters, we always step up, and we had someone step in to fill the spot for Jill. You had a great theme, very timely theme. You offered a toast at the beginning of the meeting for a better 2021. The roles were thoroughly explained during the introductions. We had no guests. There were a couple times that just minor, it happens on Zoom, where there were a couple things that were distractions, but as a Toastmaster and a DTM, you overcame them. You changed your equipment. We had a couple other Toastmasters step in. I think Larry helped at one time to continue with the meeting, with the agenda. I liked how with your theme, you shared your personal goals and thoughts for the future. Thought that was interesting. You're definitely a visionary. Let's see here. Just to reiterate, I know that you had the titles, and I think that they were on the agenda. I still challenge everyone. I challenge myself. I'm not being nitpicky, but I challenge myself, and I challenge you, Gerald, and my fellow Toastmasters to not only have the titles, but have perhaps a small 30-second, 45-second introduction of each Toastmaster, of their why this speech, why at this time, to lead into it, not to take away the content, but just to lead into it, to build a bridge into their transition into their speech. Well done overall, Gerald. Moving into our evaluators, all three of our evaluators, Sylvia, Ryan, and Jen, offered some encouraging words, some constructive critique for our speakers. And overall, I feel they are encouraging, and that's the whole purpose of the evaluation, is for the evaluator to listen and to politely shed some light on what they saw, what they heard, what they felt. To overcome some habits that maybe weaker habits, and add power to good habits. And I feel that all three evaluators did that. That concludes my general evaluator report for the Toastmaster of the day and the evaluators. And at this point, I can call for reports. We'll start with Beth Banks, our master. Beth.
I believe in general, everyone did pretty well today. We did have some uhs or ahs. Carol had a few. David Jones had two. Thomas only had one. Tracy had one. Samir, you don't use uhs and ahs, but you tend to take a word and extend it. So that almost becomes a pregnant pause and things like that. Sylvia had a couple. Ryan did so well to the very end and had three at the end. So that is the way it is. Gerald, Marty had one or two, but in general, we are, I believe, really improving that use of uhs and ahs and those pregnant pauses. I see us improving just since I've been a member. So thank you, Gerald and Marty, and continue on.
Thank you, Beth. Eric, how did we fare with our grammar this morning? Eric Schneider.
I think we did very well, and I do apologize because I suck at this role, but I will do the best I can with this today. There was some good use of grammar. I like words like Ryan said, unfortunate theme of 2020. I like that one. Samir, you said tech tidbits are tough to navigate, which I agree. That's all I have. It's I stink at this. I'm sorry. But
thank you,
that's
Eric.
all, yeah.
Moving on to our tech and gesture master, Larry Eggert.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters again. It's always nice to go after the grammarian and the master because they can't call you out. So thank you for that favor. I'm a people watcher, probably 36 years of my profession. And it's interesting, in a crowd setting, it's difficult to see people's faces as close as you can see them on Zoom. So I know there's some downsides to Zoom, but in this particular case, I get to see everybody up close. So I concentrated on your faces and your backgrounds today, talking about tech and gestures. Now, for tech, that was excellent. He did roll very well with, there was some technical glitches and wound up on his phone, but he's more well prepared than I would have been. Dr. Stevens, if my computer died, you wouldn't be seeing me the rest of the meeting. So it was good that you were able to adapt to that. Tom Heldwine, I like the background. Is that a Millennium Falcon in the background, or? It's hard to tell what it is. It looks like a Millennium Falcon flying through the sky. I thought that was excellent.
It's the Emperor's command chair.
Oh, okay. I didn't see the chair. Okay, very
Yeah,
nice.
I'm in the chair.
Oh, that's why. I just got done watching The Mandalorian, so I'm kind of into the Star Wars thing right now. So, but I like the way you also, as you talked, you used your hat as a drill sergeant. You used your voice very well. You leaned into the camera several times with a hat. I could just see you with a recruit with your tip of your hat at his forehead, encouraging him to be a better soldier. I'd also like to use your hands as you talked about things 1, 2, 3. I thought that was excellent the way you did that. Mark is deep in a tech canyon. For those of you that don't know, he's in Verizon's headquarters there. So he's surrounded by tech. So I do have to acknowledge that, and the fact that he's wearing his headphones and looks like an air traffic controller. So that's always very good with the tech related things. Tracy used smile and intensity as you talked. I don't know if she's still here. I don't see her. Oh, there she is. But as you talked, you would lean in as you got very intense with a point, and then you would go back. And then again, you would lean in again. I thought that was excellent as a way to keep people engaged. Eric had some pen manipulation at the end. I don't know if anybody saw it. As he was going through his grammarian report. Marty, lots of movement, lots of hand gestures. I thought that was good. And I just did a general overview of backgrounds. So Samir had the candles in the background. I thought that was very relaxing as he spoke. Len posted on Table Topics, put a picture up, so he was well prepared for that, so well done. Moklis looked like a time traveler. I don't know if anybody watched Moklis, but his background, he would fade in and out into this background. It was pretty cool looking. There are 2 people with Bills memorabilia. I'm surprised there aren't more. I'm surprised Dave Licata does not have something on. 3 Christmas trees, 1 new plant for Jen Czapla. Thank God, she must have killed the last one, so she got herself a new one. Margot was kind of interesting. She was in stereo today, if you hadn't noticed. She had one with her cat and one with her mansion in the background. Thought that was very interesting. 2 different views, actually, too, which was, I thought was pretty unique. 5 works of art in the background. I thought that was good. Tracy, you won the award. 1, 2, 3, 7 art pictures behind you, and 1 very active cat. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Larry. At this point, I would like to go into the Quizmaster, Miss Bittner.
Thank you. Yes, I did
Thanks
have
for,
2.
Thanks for having us in class today, and thanks for giving us a pop quiz.
There you go. Yeah, I had some tech issue today. My iPad didn't want to have anything visual, and my desktop didn't want me to do anything audio. So I had both. And yes, I only had 1 cat. I put the other 2 out. Anyway, I have a few questions for you. Dave had a number of cartoons this morning that he listed. One of them was my absolute favorite as a child. Can anyone name the cartoons that he was asking about?
The Jetsons.
Jetsons.
Yep.
Flintstones.
Flintstones, you got it.
Jones.
Let's help Sylvia out. I was going to give the 3 points that Thomas made. She gave the first 2. What was the third? Thomas, you might have to jump in and help us.
Tips and tricks.
Yep, there you go. Thank you. Tracy is in another very active organization.
Rotary.
Rotarian.
Thank you. And the disease is?
Polio.
Polio. Unlike Lions, which is
Blind.
deafness.
Blindness.
Anyway, and Samir gave us 3 kinds of podcasts. What were they?
Informational,
Yep.
entertainment, and what was the other one? It was the first thing he said. Come on, guys, help me out.
I'm a bad teacher. I don't give you answers.
Was it
Samir? I have down the talk show style.
Talk show style was the first.
That was the first thing he said. So that's the end of my quiz, so that we can move on and get on with our day. Thank you very much, everyone.
Last but not least, our word master, Jackie Kenny. How did the word visionary fare today, Jackie?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. It did quite well. Beth used it, Nancy, Mark, Larry Egger, Margot, Marty, and let's see, Marty used it twice. After that, it kind of fell off, but let's all have a visionary aspect during our 2021 challenges. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
At this point, I'd like to turn control of the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the day, and he can take the rest of the meeting away. Thank you, Gerald.
Thank you, Marty, for a great job as per usual. We do have a few minutes in the meeting. I wonder if anybody would like to talk about what they hope to do in 2021, their future plans. Feel free just to chime in.
I don't think any of us want to jinx it. It's too early.
No sharing of hopes or dreams. Dare to be dashed.
I think Jen hit that right on the head, Jen. Good job.
But I really would like to have a Celtic festival in September.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I hope to go to a pig roast that I've never done. That'd be fun.
I was just given another car, as you know, from my past stories about cars. I'm hoping to just get it on the road. I have a car that I will actually appreciate driving. It's only this much bigger than my Focus, not this much. So my goal is to get my car on the road. Sorry, my 80-year-old mother doesn't want to drive anymore. She gave me a car.
Nice.
I'm looking forward to traveling.
There you go. Nice. Nice.
I'm looking forward to the first Sunday in February.
Because?
We'll just, because?
Yes.
I'm not
Something
saying
going on?
anything.
I don't know.
There might
Okay,
be, there
I
might
get
be, there might be a football game that day that
I
we,
get it.
that we may be interested in watching from Western New York.
You've
I'll
said
just
too
leave it
much.
at that.
I never know what inning they're in, Larry.
What's that?
I never know what inning they're in.
Nice.
Well, it's the third period.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope they make a lot of baskets.
By the way, Team USA won the Junior Cup over Canada.
Yeah, we beat the Canadians again.
Have a lot of my
Nice.
Canadian family friends that were,
Not happy?
well, you know.
Let's hope for a good game and this coming Saturday, and a good time for Dave. Hopefully we'll root. We're definitely all hopefully rooting for.
I don't even know where I'm
victory.
sitting yet. I've had season tickets for over 40 years, and I can't sit in my own seat. I'm guessing that I'm either going to be behind the Bills bench or the Colts bench. I think they're going to put us all on the sides. I have the gentleman that I share my season ticket with. We have two. He has a ticket. I have a ticket. We've been going to the games forever. I have no idea that we're even going to sit in the same vicinity. So
Be thankful you're there.
Yes.
yeah, I'm glad I'm there. But yesterday I went for the COVID testing, and I got out of the car, and at 9:30 a.m. it was. Orchard Park is a microclimate. I mean, it was it was windier, but the dampness cut right through me. I mean, I'm no stranger to 30-degree weather, but I just couldn't get over the dampness. So I hope that. But Saturday looks very tame. Very tame.
Good.
You missed
That's
those
good.
8 home games to thicken up your blood, David.
I think you might be right, Lenny. Yeah.
Dave,
There's no build up here.
Dave,
All
don't
right.
forget
So
your
I'd like to
Toastmasters
turn the meeting
magazine.
back over to Eric, our president, and I guess we can continue on with discussions post Toasties.
Thank you, Dr. Stevens. Wonderful meeting this morning. My future goal this year is hopefully we can get back into some 5K races in person, because that's why I really do miss is those 5Ks.
How about Saturday morning, January 16th at the winery?
Oh, okay. I think I can make it. All right.
Can somebody give us the agenda for next week? Because it's not on the Toastmasters site.
Nancy is our Toastmaster.
I had a feeling I better ask.
Thanks, Nancy. I'll put it up today.
Okay, great.
It is
Thank
on
you.
everybody. Only a couple of people responded to my email to change the spreadsheet I sent out right before Christmas. So anybody who is dying to know their schedule, take a look at that email, or I can send that to you. It takes a little bit to manually upload everything. Also, while I'm on, we do have social hour tonight. So anybody interested, hop on after 7 p.m. this evening. But Nancy, yes, is Toastmaster. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Back to you, Eric.
Thank you. All right, our winners this morning, our best table topics winner is David Jones. Congratulations, David. Our best evaluator today is Jen Czapla. And our best speaker of the day is Tracy Farrell. Congratulations to Tracy. Are there any last minute announcements from the floor?
I did just look at the schedule again. Our speakers lined up for next week. Carol and David Jones are here, and then Cecilia's not on. So we'll find out if we need someone else, but take a look at the schedule. I'll have that up this afternoon.
Who's the alternate speaker?
I didn't look at that, but that would have been smart. So It will be one of this. I've been trying to line it up. If anyone hasn't noticed, I've been putting one of the speakers for the following week as alternate speaker, like 1 week. So whoever's alternate speaker 1 week is slated to be the speaker the following week, so they can be preparing for that. But if they do then get called up, we'll have an opening for folks. But sorry,
That's
Margot,
brilliant.
Well, we're
Brilliant.
trying.
Thank you.
Trying. Jen is
Nancy,
taking
what's
off
your
and
theme?
She has no idea if she didn't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have no idea. Do you have a good idea? I'll use it.
All right, our alternate speaker next week is Tom Moran, who's also not on right now.
All right.
I just want you guys to know that I got these flowers specifically for Tom, so we'll have to let him know next time.
He may come on to social hour tonight, so.
Yeah.
Well, all right, if there's any other further announcements, I bid you all a happy Thursday. And we'll see you guys tonight on social hour. And we'll see you all next week at 7 a.m. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
I do have an idea, and I didn't